Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Past First Solution series sessions for Cambridge O Levels English Language 1123. If you're preparing for Cambridge O Levels English Language, so this video is going to help you to improve your writing scores in paper number 2. Many students lose marks not because they don't have ideas, but because they don't structure their writing properly or miss important requirements for the question. In this video, I'm going to solve paper number 2 from the exam series of October-November 2024 step by step so you can clearly understand how to plan and write high scoring answers. As far as the structure of the paper is concerned, so we are well aware that for paper number 2, we would be required to attempt two different sections. Section number 1, directed writing, as with the name, the thing has been specified that we would be required to write under some certain directions. And the directions which are required to record any response toward any specific genre are to evaluate the ideas and opinions in the given text and to give our own views about what the text are. There are few specific genres that has been prescribed from the examiner side in your SOWs, and the genres which are included in your directed writing sections are: number 1, formal informal letter; number 2, formal or informal email; number 3, speech; number 4, article; number 5, blog post; and number 6, report. There is no specific pattern that which genre is going to be coming in which year. This thing is totally to be finalized by the examiner side, and whatsoever the genre has been given to us, we are restricted to attempt to it. Moving further, we would be having section number 2, that is the composition section. Here you will get ample of choices between the descriptive and the narrative writing. You will get two choices for the descriptive writing and two for the narrative writing. So if you feel yourself good enough in writing a captivating descriptive, so you can opt up with any specific options for the descriptive. But if you feel like that you are unable to provide sufficient sensory details to write a vivid descriptive piece of something or someone, so it's better not to go with the descriptive writing. You should go with the narrative writing. So let's start exploring the paper one by one. We would be starting with section A, which is directed writing. And for the exam series of October-November 2024, variant number 2 of paper number 2, we were given with the question for writing an email. So before proceeding towards the understanding and the evaluation of the text, let's understand what is writing an email. So in order to understand what is writing an email, I would be referring to the documents that has been issued from the examiner side. So let's discuss what is an email. An email is basically a modern form, or you may say the electronic form of a letter. As far as a typical structure for the writing email and the letters are concerned, so that structure is quite very same. The only thing that differentiate between both of the genres is the specific mention of the sender's and the receiver address. So let's talk about the overview. The purpose of writing an email is either to inform or to persuade or to entertain the reader. First and the foremost thing that has been specified over here is the purpose. So whenever you have been given with the question, so the first thing that you have to understand is the purpose, that what specific genre you're supposed to write with. So if we go back to the question say that your school principal is considering banning mobile phones in school and have asked students for their views. You have read the views of two students. Write an email to your principal saying whether or not you think mobile phones should be banned. So the purpose of this email writing is mainly persuasive with some discursive element. As far as the discursive elements are concerned, so the task is basically asking you to evaluate the ideas and opinion in both of the texts. This means that as a writer, you must discuss both sides of the issues, argument in favor and argument in against banning the mobile phones. That makes part of the responses discursive because it involves examining different viewpoints. Another element of the persuasion is there because you must also tell the principal whether mobile phones should be banned or not. since you're trying to influence the principal's decision, so the overall purpose becomes persuasive. So this email is primarily persuasive, supported by the discursive evaluation for the both of the text. So the first instruction issued by the examiner that we have followed is to understand the purpose. Usually we had three specific sort of purposes for writing the responses. We would either be asked to write a persuasive one, or a discursive, or an argumentative. So what is the difference between persuasive, discursive, and argumentative is, let me give you a very quick recap. Discursive stands for discussion. When we are doing a discussion, so we are basically discussing both of the aspects, the arguments which are in favor and the arguments which are in opposition. And we let our reader to come with a proper judgment that which side is correct. Talking about a persuasive stands for persuasion, which means that you want your reader to get agree with your point of view. For example, if you're saying you are getting agree with the particular arguments which are in favor, this is what you want your reader to pursue with. So you would mainly be talking about all the particular impact in favor. You would not be discussing anything in opposition, right? Lastly is the argumentative. Argumentative stands for presenting arguments. And when we present the argument, so basically, first we take the side of the argument which we stand in favor of, and then we discuss the counterpart of it, so that our reader can understand that why we are making up this conclusion and why we are sticking to this particular sort of argument in agreement. So, after receiving your question paper and coming towards the question number one of your section A, the first thing that you are supposed to do is to identify the purpose of your writing. So, the purpose of writing this email is the persuasive. Let's look at further what examiner further says. Emails are a quicker way to communicate than sending a letter by post, so are often used for online situations or discussions. Emails can give the readers immediate feedback, opinion, information about certain topics. Email can also be used to persuade the readers that the writer's viewpoint is correct and that some sort of action or the decision is required. However, emails can also provide a balanced argument which suggests possible alternatives, but lets the reader make up their own mind about the topic. The way you use language and vocabulary when writing an email will depend on the audience and the purpose you're writing for. So the same particular sort of instruction has been elaborated further, that first you need to specify your purpose and then you need to specify for your tone. As far as the identification of tone is concerned, so for in this regard, we have a very clear understanding. We have two different tones, formal and informal. Informal is a tone that we are supposed to maintain while we are talking to the people who are of our acquaintance, like our friends, our family members. But if we are talking to the people who are of our acquaintance or who are not of our acquaintance, but they are holding some sort of designation in some office or in some government official or any sort of official post. So that means that now we don't need to get very informal with them. So the tone that we are supposed to use over here is the formal. Let me give you a very quick example. Like, for example, when you're writing any email to your friend, so you may start the email in a way that, hey, dude, how you have been doing? It's been an ages that we haven't seen each other, right? This is a quite very appropriate and a friendly tone for your friend. But obviously, for your principal, you're not going to utilize the same specific tone. You're not going to ask your principal that, hey, dude, how you had been doing? Where have you been? Because your principal is not your friend, right? So as this task requires you to write an email to your principal, so that means that your tone is supposed to be quite very persuasive. So far, with the reading of the question number one, we have identified two things. Number one, our purpose, and number two, our tone. As soon as you have identified your tone, so your audience would be automatically be justified. As you're writing in the formal tone, so that means that you're writing it to some sort of official person. And the official person, as per the question, is your principal, which means this email is going to remain between you and your principal only, right? So that means that you're not going to have a wide variety of the audience. So you need to stick to the formal. The further guidelines that has been mentioned by the examiner side is basically the language. We need to cater the audience for which we are writing the email. We need to use the context and the relationship to the reader. We need to see that how long a reader has read the email or how long they can. We need to make sure that the impression we create for our reader is real. Let's discuss from the beginning. Number one, the audience the email is for. We should consider our relationship with the person we are emailing and we are writing email or we are sending the email. Sometimes an email is sent to the one person, such as a teacher or a friend, and sometimes it is sent to the many people at the same time, such as a group of the colleagues or the classmates. So if you are sending an email to a group, it should usually be semi-formal. This means that the language should be polite and respectful. You should avoid using slang words or very casual expressions. For example, if you're writing an informal email, so it can be, hey guys, what's up? And if you are writing with a semi formal tone, which means that you are writing an email that is supposed to be sent to a group, so you can tailor your sentence accordingly. For example, hello everyone, I hope you all would be doing well, right? Secondly, the examiner has mentioned about the context and the relationship with the reader. We should also consider our relationship with the person we are emailing. If we are emailing to a friend or the someone of our age or the someone that we are acquainted to, so our tone can be relaxed and friendly. And if we are emailing to the teacher, any official person, so we need to develop a formal and respectful tone. For example, if you are writing an email to your friend, so you can say that, hey Ali, I just wanted to ask if you can help me with this assignment. And if you're writing a formal email for your teacher, so you can tailor your sentence accordingly. For example, respected ma'am, I would like to ask for your guidance regarding this assignment. So the tone of your email changes depending on your relationship with the reader. Thirdly, the examiner has mentioned to understand that how long our reader has to read our email. We need to think about how much time the reader has. Many people receive a lot of emails every day. If we talk about on the realistic based scenarios, especially the people who are busy like managers or the teachers. Because of this, the email should be clear, email should be short, email should be professional and polite. We must avoid writing very long or the confusing messages. The reader should quickly understand our purpose. This is what a target should be. For example, instead of writing a very long paragraph, you can write the short and the clear sentences. Uh, if I talk about some sort of random mistakes that the candidates do at this point is the poor sentences structure. For example, I was wondering if you maybe could possibly send me the information when you have the time. So this need to be rephrased in a better concise way, and the appropriate structure for the sentence will be that could you please send me the information by tomorrow? More specific, more to the point, and the clear. Lastly, examiner has asked us to think about the impression we want to create on our reader. So our email should create a very good impression on our reader. This is what our goal should be. Unless we are willing to write to our close friend or for the social purposes. If you're writing with the informal tone or if you're writing to our friends, so we can use emojis, we can use some sort of slang, but not extraordinary slang. You can use the Gen Z terminologies. But if you're writing the email to a formal criteria, so you need to avoid these emojis as the form informal abbreviation of the slang language. For example, if you're writing an email to your friend, so you can talk about the call to action, send me the report ASAP. For the informal tone, this structure is appropriatable and acceptable. But for the formal tone, it is not. For the formal tone, you must say that please send the report as soon as possible. Professional language makes you appear serious, respectful, and reasonable. In simple terms, before writing an email, you should think about four things: audience, who will read it, relationship, how well do you know the reader, time, keep the email clear and concise, lastly, the impression. We are supposed to use polite and the professional language. Okay, moving on with the same document, the next instruction that has been given is basically from the organization. So this is a very clear answer for all those people who think like in O levels, we don't need to follow the structure of the paragraphs. We do need to follow the structure of the paragraph because the examiner has specifically mentioned that examiner is expecting to see these three things in your responses. Number one, a subject line. Number two, the body of the response. And number three, the closing section. Subject line is usually referred with the purpose. And the first paragraph refers to the introduction. So, what specific structure do we need to follow? The thing is quite very simple. Don't make it complicated. When starting your email, you need to write the receiver address and the sender address, and relevant to it, you can go on with the subject line. Subject line is basically going to define your purpose in a very concise way. And the same subject is going to be elaborated in your first paragraph of the introduction. If you are working with an informal email, so you can start with some sort of email greetings. Do not abruptly start with your purpose. Try to connect your purpose with your friend or the person you are writing the email to. But if you're writing your formal email, so you are not at all supposed to use any sort of informal greetings. You can convey the greetings on a very formal way that I hope this email will find you in the best spirits of the health, right? And then you can add on with your purpose. So technically the first paragraph is supposed to be of 3 to 4 lines where you just have to justify that you have catered your audience, you have talked about, you have conveyed the greetings, and you have talked about your purpose. This is what the simple specific structure of your first paragraph needs to be. Then it comes with the body paragraphs. This is totally in your hand as many paragraphs you want to create. Cambridge restrict us with the word limit, not with the limit of the numbers of the paragraph. If you want to make 10 paragraphs within the 250 or 350 words, so you're most welcome to go. But if you want to make 3 well-structured paragraph, so you can do that as well. The only thing that you need to cater is that each paragraph is expanding on the idea that you have developed from the text. And then once you have talked about all the particular arguments that you have taken from the text to support your stance, you're going to come up with a closer. That means the last paragraph of your email. When you're winding up your email, either it's an informal or formal, you must need to mention the call to action. Call to action stands for like what you want your reader to do after reading your whole entire email. You want your reader to get back to you want your reader to ignore your email, or you want your reader to just read and have fun. So on a very clear call to action must be mentioned at the end of your email. So this is what the structure of the email writing is, or writing an email and overview. Now, moving back to our question, now we are going to evaluate the passages. Paragraph number A, it is a text written by Hamza, who is a student. So Hamza is saying that I love my mobile phone and couldn't give it up. It helps me to feel safe when I am walking to school because I know I can call my parents if I need them. They are happier to let me go out on my own because they can contact me at any time. So Hamza says that he loves his mobile phone because it makes him feel safe wherever he walks. Especially, he has given the reference to school. And why he feels safe is that if in case something bad happens, so he has an opportunity to call his parents immediately. And his parents also feel comfortable letting him go because they can contact him anytime. So the main idea that has been presented in the paragraph number 1, that phone helps you to keep yourself safe or make yourself feel safe. Okay, in the second paragraph, Hamza is saying that when I am in school, it is easy to use my phone. I do research, so I don't have to waste time going to the library or carrying around lots of heavy books. I can also set reminders on my phone for when the homework is due, and I have a picture of my timetables as my screensavers. So I am always on the time for the class. So the main idea that has been presented over here is that phone helps you to keep up with the schoolwork and to maintain a schedule. He explains that in schools, he can use phones to do the research very quickly instead of going to the library, taking permission, issuing the book, or carrying many heavy books with him. So he also uses his phones to set reminders for the homework, to save the pictures of his timetable, and to stay organized on the time. So And to sum up, he needs to say that the phone helps him to manage his studies on a better way. In the third paragraph, he mentioned that photography is one of my hobbies, and I like to use my phone to take photos and the videos while I am out and about. I can edit these quickly and share them with my friends. I really enjoy being able to look back on these memories. So the main idea that has been presented in this paragraph is that the phone makes you more responsible. So he says that when his phone is expensive, he needs to be more careful, and he has got the particular opportunity to fulfill his one of his hobby, that is the photography. Then he mentioned that I also think that the fact that my phone is expensive has made me more responsible. I know that my parents won't pay for a new one, so I am always careful not to lose it. I definitely could not live without my phone. So Hamza is basically in favor that the phones must be carried by the students. If we talk about the final opinion, so it seems like that Hamza strongly believes that he cannot live without his mobile phone because it is quite very useful for him for the safety, for his studies, for his hobbies, and to make him responsible. So, in simple words, the idea that has been represented: number one, mobile phones make the students feel safe. Number two, they help the students to contact parents easily in case of emergencies. Number three, phones are useful for the research and the schoolwork. Number four, they help the students to stay organized. Number five, they help the students to meet up their hobbies. And lastly, they make them more responsible. So the six main ideas has been presented by Hamza. Now, let's move on to text speak, which is also written from the student's perspective, and the student name is Rachna. So let's see what Rachna has to say. She says that although I have a mobile phone, I choose not to take it to school. I don't want to distracted in class, checking my messages and the social media accounts instead of focusing on the lesson. This distraction is not just a problem in the class. Students trip on steps and walk into doors while looking at their phones rather than watching where they are going. So the first main idea that the Rachna has presented over here is that the phone distracts students in class. She says that she owns a phone, but she does not take it to the school. She thinks that the students get distracted by checking their messages or any notification from the social media. So instead of listening to the teacher, they focus on their phone. And most of the times, while using the phones, students are too much involved that they are least bothered about the surroundings. They bumped up with doors with the other people without even taking care of themselves. In the second paragraph, she says that although mobile phones can be useful for the schoolwork, they limit creativity when students look for ideas on the internet rather than thinking of their own. It is also difficult for the teachers to know when a student has used their phone to help them to do the work, and this makes it hard for them to know what help student needs. So she urges upon the idea that students sometimes look at their phone while walking. Sorry, she believes that when students use the phone for the schoolwork, they often search for the answers online instead of thinking for themselves. This can limit their creativity and the independent thinking. Teachers also find it quite very difficult to understand that when the response that they are receiving, either it's written from the student side or it is directly generated by the AI. So if a response that you are submitting to your teacher generating from AI, so technically if you're lagging behind in some particular sort of concept, so your teacher would not be able to understand that you need your teacher assistant there, and your concepts would not be clear. Next, she has mentioned that the mobile phones are expensive, and when students lose them, it causes a lot of stress. Having such expensive item in school encourages envy, which can lead to the friendship issues. A very important point he has raised over here, that if you are bringing an expense, you can own one expensive mobile phone and you're bringing it into your school, so it is going to create a competition to the other people, other students around you. They're going to force their parents, and maybe some of them would not be able to understand to afford it, but somehow if they manage and they buy it, and if in case they lose it, so this is going to be another financial burden on the not only on the parents, but also on the students. So it will increase their stress level. To conclude, she has mentioned that my biggest concern is that it is easy to become addicted to your mobile phone, which has negative impact on learning and on relationship with the peers. Without mobile phones, students are free to fulfill their academic potential and to build long-lasting friendship and the two most important aspects for the school life. So she believes that without phones, students can focus more on their studies and on their relationships. So the ideas that has been presented in text B, number one, mobile phones distract the students in class. Number two, phones can cause accidents when the students are not paying attention on surroundings. Number three, phones reduce creativity and independent thinking skills. Number four, they can create jealousy and the social problems. Number five, phones can make you more addictive. And lastly, number six, without phones, a student can focus on learning and the French. So the two texts that we have read, one which was written from the Hamza, who thinks that the mobile phones are helpful and important for the students, and the other which is written by Rachna, who thinks mobile phones create problems in school and should not be brought to the class. They both have a different perspective. One is standing in favor, and the other one is standing in the total opposition stance. So, connecting it to the question that your principal has asked you to present your own views, as you're going to work with a persuasive stance. So, first you need to decide that what do you agree with? Do you agree that the students should be allowed to bring their phone, or you agree that students should not be allowed to bring their phone? Or if you want to bring up a new stance that can be a neutral among both of the texts, so that would be quite very appreciable. Like if, like for example, if your stance is that students should be allowed to bring the phone in their schools, but for the limited time, but for the specific purpose on one specific day in a week. Like most of the times in the schools, they have come up with this particular sort of a school schedule that on every Friday they have their research classes assigned with. So for the research purpose, they are allowed to bring their tablets or the laptops and even for the mobile phones. So this is a wise approach that rather than having a loss of 5 consecutive working days, they can make one day creative. So if you are bringing up with this sort of idea, so that would be a cherry on the top and a very good expression for your critical thinking. So as far as the structure of the email is concerned, so let's begin with the structure of the email. So in simple way, you are going to start your email with adding your address. So you are going to write to, and you are going to write down the email address of your receiver. For example, abc at the rate of gmail.com. If you don't want to hide the identity and if you want to add on with your real email address, so you can. Then you are supposed to write down the address of the person who is going to receive the email. Sorry, from whom the email has been sent, like your email address, xyz at the rate of gmail.com. And then you are going to come up with a subject line. You're just going to simply going to mention subject, and then you're going to talk about your purpose. So your purpose is to express your views, right? So as you have read two texts, and both of the texts have been written from the student's perspective. So your purpose would be views on students bringing mobile phones to school. So this is the simple straightforward structure that you need to follow. Why am I emphasizing on this to and the from thing is just to differentiate between the letter and the email. As we all are working with the gadgets and we are well aware that what is the structure of the email, like if you go to your Gmail or the Apple Mail or any sort of email you are working with, and as soon as you're going to open up the window, so the first thing that you're going to receive, so as soon as you're going to click on the window to compose an email, so this is how the screen is going to pop up. To where you are supposed to write down the address of the receiver, from Usually your email address would be appear by default and the subject line. So the point that I want to make over here, that in order to differentiate between writing an email and a letter is the format that is being displayed on your screen. So it's better you should follow. Okay, then you're going to move with the main body paragraphs. The first paragraph is going to be your introductory paragraph where you're going to convey your greetings. That it must be in the formal way, and you're going to add on your purpose, that why are you writing down this email. Remember, the question has given you a very clear understanding that your principal has asked you to write an email. So this is what you're going to connect in your purpose. And then the ideas that you have present, that we have evaluated from both of the texts, you can come up with any three, maximum three or the four ideas. Okay, so the ideas that we had worked from text A are basically, let me just quickly type it down here. Number one was mobile phones make students feel safe. Number two, they help students to contact in case of any emergency. Number three, phones are useful for research and schoolwork. Number four, they help students to stay organized. Five, they support creative hobbies like photography. And the ideas that we've worked with text B are: number one, mobile phones distract students in class. Number two, they can cause accidents when students are not paying attention. Number three, they reduce creativity and independent learning or thinking. Number four, they can create jealousy and social problems. Number five was about addiction of the phones. So, as the question said that we are supposed to evaluate the idea. So, this is what the evaluation has been done. Now, one major problem since the arrival of this new syllabus, most of the candidates are coming up with this mindset of the thinking that these texts have been given for you just to paraphrase. Like as a candidate, you are just supposed to read the text and then you are going to explain the text in your own wording. This is not at all the objective of these two texts. What you are supposed to do, you are supposed to take the idea and you are supposed to expand onto it. You need to develop. take any idea of your stance and then add the opinion of you and then give the appropriate explanation. In this way, you would be able to construct one proper peel paragraph of your writing. So whatsoever your stance is going to be, like if you are going to go in the favor, then the force should be allowed. So you can go with the text A and you can use text B as the counterpart. And if you are going to go with the text B in opposition, so text B is going to be your major stance and text A would be your counterpart of it. So after completing with your main body paragraph, you need to come up with a conclusion. And for the conclusion, you need to give the call to action, which means like what you want your reader to do after reading your whole entire email. So this is what email writing is and how you're supposed to attempt section number 1 or section A of your directed writing part. I have talked about the overall overview of what email writing is. I have given you a few tips at how you can write an effective email, especially in the terms of tones and the sentence structure. I have discussed about few particular sort of mistakes which has been committed from the candidate side on the very frequent way, due to which they lose their marks. So if you are planning to get a better score, so the only thing that you need to keep in your mind is to follow the proper structure, number 1. Number 2, avoid monotony. Number 3, do not paraphrase. You need to expand on the idea. You don't need to paraphrase or rephrase what is being stated in text A or text B, right? Now, moving on to the section B. As I have stated earlier that in this section, you will be having an ample of choice. 2 topics for the descriptive would be given and 2 topics for the narrative would be given. So the first descriptive writing topic is that you're supposed to describe the scene in your home when your family is preparing to go away somewhere together, for example, on holiday or on a day trip, and when they arrive. So here you're basically going to describe the scene in at your home before departure and after departure. So you can explain where your family is going, like if you're going on holiday or you had been planning some sort of picnic or there had been some sort of family wedding or any particular sort of date. You are supposed to describe the excited and the busy atmosphere in the house. This is what you're going to cater in the introductory paragraph. Then the main part of the this question are 2. Number 1, early preparation. Number 2, last time minute rush. And number 3, returning home. Not 2, the 3 things that you have to cater. So according to the nature of the question, you can divide these 3 things into 3 different paragraphs. For example, in one paragraph, you can talk about your early preparation, where you can talk about how the family members woke up early in the morning and what did they do. They were picking bags and checking the items, the smells of the breakfast, sound of the people talking, a great sort of rush, and different family members doing different things. Then for the next paragraph, you can talk about the last minute rush, like someone forgetting something somewhere, any important parcel has been forgotten, or the parents checking the documents or the tickets, or younger children in the family who had been feeling so very excited started to burst into the fight that you would be sitting at the front seat of the car. You can talk about the noise, laughter, and the movement in the house. Third thing is when you are going to return back. You don't need to describe the whole entire event. You have to describe before your departure and after your arrival. So after your arrival, you can talk about that finally arrived after the trip, what had been their feeling, were they happy, were they disappointed, or whatsoever. You can talk about the how the stuff was placed on the floor. You can create a very quiet atmosphere compared to the morning. And for the ending, you're going to talk about that how family shared the memory of the trip and the feeling that the family have. So this is an appropriate plan to attempt. The next option for the descriptive is to describe 2 very different people apart from your parents who are important role models for you. They could be your relatives, friends, or the famous people. Say why they are important to you. So for the introduction, you first need to introduce 2 people. These 2 people are supposed to be a role model. That means that you have got the inspiration from them. They can be from your family, but if they are from your family, so they should not be your parents. They should be someone else than the parents. It can be grandparents. It can be your uncle or aunt. It can be one of your eldest cousin or someone of your best friend. So for the introduction paragraph, you're supposed to introduce the two people. You're going to mention that they are very different from each other, but they both have been a great source of inspiration for you. Then, as per the nature of the question, first you are going to describe your first role model, like who is the person. It can be a teacher, it can be a relative, a famous athlete, or a celebrity, or even your best friend. You can talk about the physical description, and you can talk about the family trait or the one thing that you have been liking a lot in that person. And further, if you want to expand on with the different paragraphs, so you can talk about the different qualities that make them admirable. For example, their kindness, the way he or she led a disciplined life, and the level of intelligence. Once you have finished with discussing your first role model, you are going to discuss the other influencer, the second role model. You are going to describe the person with a very different personality. You are going to talk about their strength, confidence, creativity, bravery. And then you are going to talk about that why these both people are important for you. You are going to explain that how people influence your life. You are going to compare their differences, but you are going to explain that why both matter for you. And in the end, you are simply going to state how their examples motivates you to become a better person. Remember, descriptive means to show. So that means that you need to work with a lot of sensory details. So you don't need to work with the vague sentence structure that my friend has been quite very kind. This is a very general sentence structure. You need to provide a sensory details so that your reader can visualize the character right in front of his or her eyes. This is what our target is supposed to be when we are working with a descriptive. Moving on with the narrative. Narrative basically stands with narration or telling something. So that means that we need to tell. In descriptive, we show, but in narrative, we tell. So for the narrative writing, first topic that has been given to you is to write a short story in which someone receives an unexpected telephone call with some exciting news. As far as the structure of the narrative is concerned, so the narrative must fulfill the five elements: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and conclusion. So you need to make your paragraphs accordingly. What you're going to write in exposition, exposition usually stands in the introduction, where you give the setting, like who your characters are, where they were, what they had been doing. Then you talk about the rising action, where you talk about that how the thing is starting to move on, or you can talk about that each and everything has been going quite very smooth, and then something bad happened. So for this task, I have made up a plan. Let me just show you. So this is the plan that according to the question I made. As far as your examination criteria are concerned, so you are recommended to plan prior to what you are going to write. This planning is going to be quite very helpful for you to go with the proper smooth flow of the narrative, rather than just sitting and thinking randomly that this is what I'm going to write in first paragraph, then I will be talking about this, and then all of a sudden you realize that you missed this detail in the first paragraph, and then going back to the same paragraph and doing a lot of cutting pasting, and your piece of response will be looking quite very messy. This thing is not recommended at all. So the best appropriate approach is that first you should plan what you are going to write. Similarly, the next topic of the narrative that has been given to you, write a story which includes a sentence. What do you mean? You forgot it? So this story requires you to fill up this sentence. Remember, these sort of questions are quite very tricky. The only trick that you have to understand is that where to fix up this sentence. Most of the time that the sentences which has been given to us in the question are the best fit to be used at the rising action. But sometimes they give us the more appropriate sentences to best fit with the climax. So after reading the sentence, the first thing that you need to realize that in your plan where you can fix it up clearly. And the best strategy is to use a different pen color to write down this sentence in your story so that your checker can easily identify that this is the particular sort of place where you have received or you have catered the sentence. As far as the structure is concerned, so the structure is quite very fine that we need to work with the five different elements of the narrative. So those elements of the narratives are going to remain same. So this is how we are supposed to cater our paper number 2. I would be happy to receive your comments and the feedback and your queries.